Is the second video. It's pretty much exactly the same as the first one, only this time I'll be showing you how to put your drops back into a chapter and take out anything you need to in Audacity instead of Pro Tools. So this is Audacity. It's pretty similar to Pro Tools, and there are different ways of doing the same thing, but they pretty much add up to the same result overall. So I'll be running through how to do those things. So once again, we have the same two mistakes that we had in the last video. If you haven't seen the last video, what's basically happening here is that we are hypothetically at the end, nearing the end of the recording process. So you would have read the whole book, you would have sent it through to us, we would have sent it to the proofreaders. The proofreaders then would have picked up any mistakes and sent back their report, at which point you as the narrator or the reader are now ready to drop in those mistakes, having re-recorded them. So the two mistakes that we're going to be focused on today are on chapter 8 of this book that I'm doing here. One at 13 minutes 32 seconds and one at 8 minutes 34. Now, as also mentioned in the last video, it's best to work backwards in terms of your timings. This just makes sure that the audio doesn't fall out of time by the time you get to the final mistake in a chapter. So there's two mistakes, one at 8:34, one at 13:32. We're going to be doing 13:32 first. We're in Audacity. The timeline is up here. We want 13 minutes 32 seconds, which is going to be around here somewhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this selector tool, not selector tool, a grabber kind of tool. It's in Audacity, and I'm going to move the pickups over roughly to 13:32. If you want to find out exactly where it is for the clip that you're on, you can just double click using the selector tool here, and then you can just type in 13 1 3 3 2, and where the light and the dark meet, that's roughly where we are. It's Command 1 to zoom in, so we'll just do that. 13:32, and we'll grab the audio, and we can see that the waveform is roughly the same here, so we know that we're going to be roughly in this right place. So what we can do is just, once again, the same as what we did in Pro Tools, is just have a listen back to make sure.
And as for his mother, she managed to create a storyline out of collecting him from the hospital, which he really didn't appreciate.
And just make sure that the pickup that you've done is the same. You can also follow this on the PDF.
And as for his mother, she managed to create a storyline he didn't appreciate.
So yeah, you would have listened to it through and you would know that that is actually the correct piece of audio. So what I'm doing now using the selector tool is I'm just literally selecting this piece of audio that you've re-recorded that needs replacing, that needs to replace the original here. I'm going to press Command and C to copy it. I am then going to select the piece of audio on the original chapter that we want to replace, making sure that I don't cut off any words either before or after, so you have to be quite careful at this part. And then press Command and V to paste this section that you've already copied to here. So I'm going to press Command and V, and that has replaced the audio. It looks exactly the same because the waveform is exactly the same, but it has actually replaced the audio there. And that's the first
Using the handrail.
cut we've done. We can put it on a solo to hear it on its own.
Lots of fogies trying to feel important. And as for his mother, she managed to create a storyline out of collecting him from the hospital, which he really didn't appreciate.
And yeah, that's the first mistake done. So that's the one at 13:32 done. All we need to do now is the one at 8 minutes 34. And because Audacity has the big timeline here, you can just jump straight to that point by zooming out using Command and 3. Also, if you need to know where anything is, you can just go to Help, for example, and type Zoom, and it'll tell you, if you type Zoom in, it'll tell you where it is and what shortcut to use. This is on Macs, so anything you need to know type it in help and it should be able to tell you. So we need 8 minutes 34 seconds. I'm going to grab this again. 8:34, let's go down. Roughly the correct place, around here somewhere. And then put the cursor. You have to keep swapping between the two when you're doing this. If you remember to do that, it should be fine. And then Command and 1, Command and 3, Command and 1, to zoom in. And it's 8:34. So it's going to be roughly around here. So I'm going to select this tool again and drag it over, and we can see that, yep, that is looking like it is the correct place. The waveform here and here are looking roughly the same. When you record it again, it's obviously not going to be exactly the same, but if you can see that it's roughly the same, you know you're in the right place. We don't need this last bit because we've already done that, so we can just delete that. So what you'll be doing here, and on the first mistake that we've done, you will be checking them on the proofreader's report that you have got the right sentence. You'll be checking the page, that it's the right page, and you'll be checking that the PDF text flows correctly once you've inserted your mistake. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So let's just make sure we're in the right place. I'm just going to solo this.
Before he'd become ill, he'd taken the stairs 2 or 3 at a time.
I'm just going to quickly run through this, but you will listen to the whole thing.
Using the handrail.
So as long as we know we've got the right piece of audio.
Using the handrail. Before he'd become ill, he'd taken the stairs 2 or 3 at a time. Before he became... Using the handrail.
And we could tell that we've got the right piece of audio there. That's absolutely fine. So same principle. We copy here, go to the top, go to the piece of audio above it, the original chapter, and we will just paste it in over the original audio. So when I press Command, so we copied it from here with Command and C. When I press Command and V, it will copy over here. You can see it's extended it out a little bit. That's absolutely fine. If you did want to pull in the gap, that you just literally select the selector tool here, select the amount that you want to pull, that you want to delete, and then just press delete, and it will pull the audio closer. So we can have a listen, following the PDF to make sure that there's no words or sentences or lines or anything at all missed.
Before carefully making his way downstairs. Before he'd become ill, he'd taken the stairs 2 or 3 at a time. But now, aware of what a fall could mean, he made his descent slowly, using the handrail. He resented.
And you will know from the line before this sentence and the line after that you have the complete paragraph or sentence, and that there's nothing missing, and that is chapter 8 completed. You've had 2 mistakes in terms of drops, and you've now completed them both. But let's say you want to add, let's say you just want to take out a piece of audio. Instead of re-recording it, there's maybe a movement of your arm or something after a word that doesn't cover a word that you can remove without having to replace the audio. So let's say this is just a made up timing, but let's say that this point here is a sound which needs taken out. 8:51, 8:50, let's say it's on the proofreader's report. Now instead of re-recording the line, you can see it's not over any dialogue. So what we can do is we can, instead of taking it out and re-recording it, what we can do is just select, you can zoom in as well, Command and 1 to zoom in as much as you need to, select what you need to take out, and then you go to generate and just go to silence. It'll come up with the selection time. You don't need to worry too much about that as long as the part that you've selected is looking this lighter shade. Press OK, and it will get rid of any sound that was there, so we can have a listen.
Was unavoidable. As he entered the living
And we can listen to what it was like before. If we do undo, Command and Z.
Was unavoidable. As he entered...
I mean, there's not much sound there, but you can see visually, and you can hear it as well, that it does get rid of anything.
Was unavoidable. As he entered...
What you want to make sure, of course, is that you don't clip any words. And if you follow the PDF script before you send us the completed chapter back, as in follow the script before and after the little pieces that you drop in or take out, you don't need to read the whole thing, you will make sure that that is indeed the case and you haven't missed anything out when it comes to sending us back the chapters. We can also add, let's say if you have a gap at the end of the chapter that you want to increase at the end or during the chapter, or just something for like a page break, for instance, we can actually select a couple of seconds from the timeline after, so we can see 47, 48 there. So let's say we want a second gap. We can actually just copy that gap, Command and C. Let's zoom out a bit. Let's take a bit more of a gap. Let's take 2 seconds. So you just select a piece of empty audio at the end of your track, count the seconds, 49, 50, 51, Command and C, and then you just go into the place in the chapter where the proofreader has said maybe it needs a bit of a longer gap before your sentence starts. Maybe on the original edit you did, it was trimmed a little bit too much and it sounds unnatural, so a longer pause in between is needed. So you've copied your 2 seconds of silence, basically silence, and you want to input it here. Let's just have a listen to this.
As soon as he was completely fit and well.
So you've got a bit of a sound at the end of that L. So we can just basically insert this here. Select the place you want to copy over, Command and V, and that 2 seconds of silence there will be inserted. And you can see it's 2 seconds because it says it here, 2 seconds, 0.203.
As soon as he was completely fit and well.
And then what we can do is, once it's done, maybe zoom out so you can have a closer look at everything that you've done on the chapter. You know it's all done. You've got the name here. So what I did is I just clicked here, select name, press Command and C. Oops. Sorry. Name. Copy. Put the 3 X's at the end, so it would be like that, chapter 8. You just put 3 X's to make sure that you know this is the one that you don't want to send to us. Press OK, and then all you do is double click to select it. Make sure that you have anything else that's going to be bounced down or rendered or converted, however you wish to word it. You then go to export, because you're now exporting us the chapter back. Export as WAV or as MP3 or whatever it is that is required. Export as WAV, and you can either rename it or you can keep the chapter name and put repair on the end, just so you know that this is the repair and this is the one to send to us. Yep, that's all correct, 16-bit. And then you save. It will bring up these. You don't really need to bother with these too much. You don't need to bother with any of those really. Press OK, and it will render off chapter 8. We can then find it in Finder. I'll just type repair. That should bring it up. And there it is. And we can check the time if you want to just make doubly sure.
Chapter 8.
It's 14:47. And that is also 14:47. So you know at a glance that everything you've done should be correct. You haven't trimmed off 10 20 seconds, otherwise the timing would look different. And you're now ready to send that back. And that is how you edit your drops in Audacity.